Houston, we have a podcast. Apollo 13 is coming up next.
Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevene. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and today that is Tommy. Never seen
Yes.
Apollo 13. Like, this is like the height of Tom Hanks. This is
Mm,
a Ron Howard movie, most assuredly.
yeah.
Um, I have seen this movie like I want to say close. I can't even tell you how many times this was a around the clock VHS tape that my mom would put on. It's one of her all-time favorites. So I this was like a refresher course, me rewatching this movie
Was
versus
was this the first time you rewatched this in like, I don't know, like a decade at least?
no, I want to say I've seen it in the last 10 years, but it's been at least since I moved to Nashville.
Yeah. So it's been a while.
It's been 2.5 years at the minimum.
I'm glad that like almost 3 years into the podcast, we could still find movies that one of us was like, yeah, I rewatch this like all the time. Last week it was 28 Days Later for me, and this week is this Apollo 13, which I
13.
never saw. I remember walking to my grandparents watching this once, but I never got the itch myself because like, oh, that's a boring grandpa movie when I was like a little kid. And now I think I'm at the age where I'm like, I can appreciate the dad and grandpa canon of movies.
Oh, see,
So.
it's interesting because it's like for our parents' generation, they were kids when the Apollo landing happened. So there's just like a lot
Mm,
more nostalgia to that era. For like my parents, I'm assuming your parents are of a similar age,
mm.
where they like actually remember this happening. So it's not even like a grandpa movie. It's just like your dad's movie. And I feel like this was another one that was around the clock on TNT as well.
Oh, this is a total TNT classic right here.
Yeah, this is just a gem of a movie there. Total space thriller. That's really well acted. It's like solidly directed. It's really tense. And it kind of works its way towards that just triumphant ending there perfectly. But it's on rewatch with like more of like a critical eye. It's like, oh, there's like no character work in this movie at all.
Yeah, no. Other than the Tom Hanks character, I feel like for the most part, it's just not really touched upon.
There's just none really, but it's also not what the movie's about, right? It's about
Mm.
getting our boys back home. Um, a different time for sure. But we will discuss Apollo 13 and all of that in this episode as we go on. Tommy, I know you had something you texted me earlier that you wanted to bring up.
So this week it's been going around the New York Times 100 best movies of the 21st century. It's a whole list they've been posting. They had a bunch of directors, actors, filmmakers in general post their lists. And today the New York Times opened up the readers' poll of it. So Tim, did you do yours yet? Because I did mine.
I did not do my homework, no.
Okay, so I'll give you a second to
I can give you some off the dome though.
Yeah. All right. So I'll start first to give you some time to think a little bit. My list was pretty Tommy, as you can imagine. So in no particular order, I had Mad Max, Fury Road, Dark
Okay.
Knight,
Okay.
Hereditary,
Okay.
The Departed.
Departed,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, It Follows. Great
Really?
horror movie from 10 years ago that I just adore. And this is also a personal list for me. I mean, there's gonna be a Homer pick in here that you're gonna be like, yeah, that's totally Tommy.
That's a Tommy
Uh,
pick. It follows. It's
and
a Tommy pick.
that's one of the Tommy picks. The Holdovers, I think fantastic. I think one of the best movies of the decade so far. Just really heartwarming. Spider-Man 2, great superhero sequel of all time. Shaun the
Over the
Dead.
Dark Knight?
Well, I had a Dark Knight in there too.
I know.
But I'd say Spider-Man 2 probably a little better, more character work. But
Different tone.
anyways, yeah. Then I have Shaun the Dead in there, of course. 28 Days Later, which we covered last week. And then Toy Story 3.
Okay. One of the things I did notice, because I read the New York Times article, there were people who were putting films that were released in like 1999 and like 98 on that list. Like, It was
Like, what
not
the
just
fuck, man?
it was only a couple of people, but I was like, if you're gonna have this rule set of being like, hey, let's talk about movies that released in the last 25 years, like maybe have that hard line in the sand
Mm,
of the past 25 years, not asking for much. I saw some people putting Avatar in there, which was just like that work in film, and I was
awful.
like, crazy.
I
It's not
it's
awful.
a
It's not awful, but it's certainly not up to the pedigree of Cameron's prior work and
mm.
on the category of like the 10 best, in my opinion, in my humble opinion.
In my opinion, it's more of a tech demo more than anything. I mean, I can't stand the Avatar movies. I hated the first one. Still have not even gotten around to the second one. So
Well, the third one's coming out this year, so we might haven't seen it, the second one.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Double
the
feature.
double 6 hour double
Six.
feature, 6 hour
Yeah.
double feature.
Dances with
Um,
Wolves mixed
uh,
in there.
yeah, it'll make it nine, and then we could just throw the extended
Yeah.
edition of the Lord of the Rings trilogies. So,
Yeah.
so how many? It's 10.
Yeah. 10 total.
Okay. So super bad.
Yeah.
Greatest
I was
comedy
thinking
of
of
the
that too.
20 that is the greatest. I was very surprised that wasn't on your list
Yeah.
that you just gave there, but that's my pick if I had to pick a comedy.
Yeah.
Glorious Bastards, my favorite Tarantino. I feel like you have to put that one on there.
Yeah. I was thinking of that
Um,
too.
I'm thinking I'm thinking of which Lord of the Rings to put on there. I think I would go Fellowship. I think it's the best. Like all
Okay.
three flow are masterpieces, but I think one is such like an unbelievably chill episode, like movie, and
Yeah.
just it's this like it's that exposition dump at the beginning of the movie is so entertaining, and exposition
Mm.
dumps are historically not entertaining, and they
Yeah.
somehow like and it just gets you enthralled in this world immediately.
As we covered on our last episode.
On the lost episode with the broken sound of the Lord of the Rings. Maybe we'll do like a redux.
Yeah.
We'll reheat it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Um I want to pick a Scorsese. I want to say Wolf, but I saw a lot of
Yeah.
Wolf on that list. I'm very privy to Gangs, but doesn't belong on that list.
Mm.
Um oh, I really want to put Oppenheimer on there.
Yeah. That was in my finalist too.
I think without thinking about it, I'm gonna put Oppenheimer on there. For a foreign film, I really love Drive My Car, which was that it came out in 2021. It was this beautiful
Mm.
Japanese film about dealing with grief.
Mm.
And a man and a young girl like find companionship while both dealing simultaneously dealing with grief. Like just a tremendous film.
Mm.
Um, that's five. Oh, I'd
Yeah. It's
like
five right there.
like when you don't want to say The Dark Knight, but I'm kind of running out of ideas, so I'm gonna
Yeah. Exactly. It's like the Dark Knight's there. It's like, all right, come on.
I'm gonna say The Dark Knight for
Yeah.
my superhero poll. It's a movie I can just always go back to.
Mm.
Um, damn it, this is hard. No wonder why I think I clicked the link and I'm like staring at it like this, and I'm like, I'm never
Well,
gonna.
for me, I just wear my letterbox and like any movie I rated 5 stars within the last 20 years, I was like, all right, this matches. This makes sense.
This tracks.
Yeah, yeah.
Hang on.
So,
Can you
so
vamp for me really quick, Tommy? Tell me about
all
what.
right. So the other finalists for me were also super bad. I was also thinking Hot Fuzz up there. I was debating if I wanted to put in something like Kill Bill right there, which I haven't revisited in a while. Kill Bill Volume 1, but in a way they kind of are just like one big film if you combine them, which I always
Yeah.
wanted to do. I've been waiting to rewatch those movies when like I can do Kill Bill 1 and 2 in just like
Oh,
one fell stroke.
Whiplash for sure on there.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that's seven.
That's seven. Mulholland Drive, eight.
All right, eight.
Not a surprise to anybody who knows me. Um,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna put Licorice Pizza. I love that movie. It's just such a
Good
great,
movie. Good
it's
movie.
such a great hangout movie. I absolutely adore that movie. Um, and I really want to, I know I'm just kind of beating the bush here, but I really want to put La La Land there as 10. I just adore
Yeah,
that movie.
great movie.
I adore that movie to death. This is me putting 10 without thinking about it. There's
Yeah.
not, I think Drive My Car is the only like cinema, but I don't care. These are the movies that I like. And I
Yeah,
feel like
exactly. I mean, you
that's a
can see
pretty
both our
solid list.
personalities within our
Yeah.
lists. I mean, I hate the people that like trying to be objective about it, where like it's just like, all right, like obviously like Dark Knight is up there, but it's, at the end of the day, I also love Dark Knight. I'm not going to put a movie I don't
Like
like on my list.
this is the other thing for like, and like we shit on superhero movies nowadays, like we do all of that, but like I
Mm.
was 15, Tommy was 14 when The Dark Knight came out. It took me 3 weeks to secure a ticket to go see The Dark Knight. It was that hard of a ticket to go get.
Oh, I saw it twice in like the span of the first week opening. I know what you did wrong.
I apparently did something wrong because it took me a while to go see it, and I was sitting like in like the first, like I was sitting in the first 5 rows of the theater in White Plains, like staring up at the screen, just like chills
Mm,
down my spine. Like,
mm.
it's a top five theatrical experience for me. Genre be damned, like it just hit like that when I
Yeah.
was 15, and I'll never be 15 again, being able to experience cinema like that again. So.
There is something about like the movies you see when you're like 12 to 15 are like the movies you always just love. I mean, that's why Shaun the Dead's on my list, for example, because it's just like a movie that like you discover when you first get into movies or music or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah. So like you always have those movies that stick with you. Like, okay, like I'm always gonna love Aerosmith because I liked them when I was 12 years old, even though they're cheesy as fuck.
Hey man, we're not here to shit on Aerosmith. I'm a fan. I'm a fan
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Aerosmith, man.
yeah.
We don't need to shit on Steven Tyler. He did that with it. He did that to his face on his own fruition. Okay, we do not need to add to
Yeah,
that pile. And if
yeah,
you do not know what Steven Tyler looks like, Tommy is going to tweet out a picture of Steven
yeah.
Tyler's face for you to look at, so that way you know that Steven Tyler did that to his face. Um, Voluntarily. So those are our 10 of the 2020s. Mine is not as well thought out as Tommy's, but enjoy the list. Um, and then quickly, I wanted to touch upon me venturing to a holy site of film, actually.
Mm.
This past weekend, I was in Florida, Seaside, Florida. Does that ring a bell to you, Tommy?
Is that fuck like where Universal Studios? That's Orlando, but
Tommy, Seaside, Florida is in the Panhandle, just below the state of Alabama,
yeah.
and it is where they filmed The Truman Show.
Oh yeah, yeah. You told me. Yeah, you
And
told me
I
this.
got to take a bow outside of the house and just annoy my girlfriend Emily by saying, "In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night." And then she was
Which
like, I kept asking, it's like, "Have you seen The Truman Show? Have you seen The Truman Show?" And she's like, "I watched like 40 minutes of it in a psych class, and then at at the house we proceeded to watch The Truman Show." So that's one of the
was that
movies.
the whole trip? The rest of the trip just became we're watching this, we're watching it, we're watching it, rewatching
We
it.
just watched it the first night, but it was great. She was
Yeah.
like, "Why are you taking a bow in front of the house when she took a pic?" I was like, "So you haven't seen the movie then?" Like, because she kept saying she had saw the movie, and then when I took a bow, she didn't. She's like, "Why would you take a bow there?" And I was like, "Okay, so you haven't, you then have
I
not,
I
you've then have not seen the movie."
I think the cornerstone of any relationship is almost like the premise of our podcast, where it's like, you haven't seen this movie? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, she does that with me, but then it's like the Lizzie McGuire movie, and I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Where I get hit with like Repo the Genetic Opera. And I'm like,
She
okay.
did show me the Notebook, which was great. Real tear jerker that we should cover. I know we have floated
I've
around
seen
the
it.
Notebook. Oh, you told me you hadn't seen it.
No, I saw it when I was like a kid. My sister made me see it when I was like in like fourth grade. I was
Oh, that
like,
doesn't
ugh.
count. You didn't know what was going on. You could have cared less about that movie.
Exactly. That was like torture. It was like why I hate Harry Potter to this day because like my older sister like would make us listen to the audiobooks when we were
Oh,
on road trips.
Jim Dale was
It was,
incredible.
yeah, he's good, but still, like I don't think I'm ever gonna get into Harry Potter.
You're
Fantasy,
just not a fantasy guy. You just can't
that
do it.
too. As we covered on our last episode of
You
Lord of
gave
the Rings.
Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice a higher rating than The Lord of the Rings. Let that be known. Let that be on the record.
Did I?
But
I don't think I
Tommy,
did.
have you seen anything recently that you'd like to touch upon?
So briefly speaking of 28 Days Later, I saw the sequel that just came out, Danny Boyle's new movie, his return to cinema after yesterday, which we can leave that yesterday. 28 years later, movie was fantastic. I think it didn't fall into the usual pit traps of like decades later sequel. Like for example, like they're releasing the new I Knew What You Did Last Summer next month, and it's like for some reason they're shoehorning in Jennifer Love Hewitt in it. For some reason where it's like, oh, like this happened to you too. This happened to me 30 years ago.
Notorious 21st century box office draw. Jennifer
Yeah.
Love Hewitt.
Exactly. But 28 years later doesn't have any like legacy sequel characters. Cillian Murphy doesn't really show up in this either, anything like that. So it really just like t touches upon like, okay, so this virus hit England like 2 decades ago. What is society like now? And it just touches upon that about how like the differences of and like culture and stuff like that, and how the it focuses on this one family in an island that's like basically like cut off from the zombies for the most part, and how their society and function works, and just really great like humane story, just like the original 28 Days Later was. It really focused on human emotions and like how this would all affect culture and the UK in general. And Danny Boyle and Alex Garland are just a pairing that just makes so much sense, and it's great to see them
Well,
back.
that's the biggest thing is bringing back the original screenwriter. Like
Mhm.
that's the key to this is in getting that heart and soul like into the script to get it captured. Um, I it's a movie I didn't think I was gonna go see in theaters. And
Mhm.
I think I'm going to go see it in theaters now. Also, I love that they're going around being like, this was shot on an iPhone 15 Pro, and yes, that was the lens used. But then if you look up images of the camera rigs that they were using with their iPhone, it's not you holding a camera, your phone, and
Well, it's
taking video.
insane. The cinematography of this movie, I mean, yes, it was shot on iPhones, but they did this like rig thing for like close-up shots where it was essentially like a huge camera rig of like, I don't know, like something like 10 iPhones or something like that at once. So, and you get these like almost like bullet time like sequences and action sequences that cuts to one iPhone to the next to the next to the next. And it's really kinetic filmmaking in a way that like shows you that like, yes, obviously you need a whole rig or something like that, but you could still shoot this in like a very interesting way, in the way that the original 28 Days Later, which we touched upon, was shot with like a digital handycam, and now
Yeah.
this is the equivalent of that 20 years later for
So
us.
for all the AI bros and tech bros who are like, yeah, I could film this movie, you could not do it.
Yeah.
Physically incapable of doing it. You do not have the creativity, nor the thought, nor the time, nor the patience to even accomplish a single frame that is in 28 years later. You couldn't even do a frame of Plan 9 from Outer Space, okay? Ed Wood
Yeah.
has that much more creativity in his heart and soul than you ever will.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I'm gonna try to go see it this week, maybe weekend. I do want to go see that. I kind of want to go see F1 coming out just because it's the same director as Top Gun Maverick, and I'm like, maybe the sequences will be awesome. Like that's kind of all I'm hoping for. Not so much on
If it's
plot.
anything like Days of Thunder, I'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly. Just give me Days of Thunder, Redux, and like I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like plot just needs to it's kind of like Top Gun Maverick, where it was like Top Gun Maverick is a close one for me on that list, but just
Mm,
a movie that just I just need the plot to keep moving. I don't need some crazy engaging story. Like if the action sequences work, they work.
mm.
Um, and that's what makes the movie great. Um, but now we are going to go back in time all the way to 1970 for Apollo 13.
Apollo 13 flight controllers, give me a go, no go for launch. Booster. Go. Retro. Go. Network. Go. Recovery. Go. We are go for launch.
Apollo 13. A million things could have gone wrong.
Our next broadcast will be from the surface of the moon.
One did.
Houston, we have a problem.
The Odyssey's dying.
Failure is not an option. We're just gonna figure out how to stay alive.
Tom Hanks. Apollo 13. Rated PG.
Starts Friday, June 30th at theaters everywhere.
So, Apollo 13 is an American docudrama film from 1995, directed by Ron Howard, starring Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, Bill Paxton, Gary Sinise, Ed Harrod, Kathleen Kinlan, and also starring Chris Ellis's receding hairline, because he played a background character, Deke Slayton, like one of the bosses at NASA, and I was just mesmerized by that man's forehead. Like I just, but
Fantastic.
anytime he was on screen, I just couldn't look away from it.
One of the magic things about this movie is just like how they have so many great character actors in here, just like popping up for like in the control room. Like the
Mhm.
fact that we have Clint Howard in here, obviously Ron Howard's brother, just showing up for like a couple scenes as like the guy who's like, I got the key right here. Like, he makes a joke about the taxes and everything like that. You have Xander Berkeley, the stepdad from Terminator 2, as like the public relations official that tells him like, something's bad's going to happen right here.
Yeah,
It's great. You love to see it.
you have a lot. Yeah, you see Clint Howard, and you're just like, you know what, Clint, your brother's ultra successful. It's like James Gunn's brother, where it's just like, yeah, good for that guy. Like he's fine. Like he's fine. I actually love Clint Howard in this. He's just such like a dweeby little guy.
Mm.
He's such a dweeby, perfect little NASA nerd running around. Brings a smile to my face.
It's so funny his career arc because like he goes from like in like terrible like direct to video horror trash B movie on top of B movie
So
like this
you're
is like
kind of movie.
yeah, exactly. Like he'll pop up like I'm looking at his like Wikipedia right now. He'll pop up in like Barbed Wire or like he'll pop up in like Leprechaun 2 and like even stuff like that. And then all of a sudden he has Ron Howard, so gets like to be in like legit movies too at the same time.
Yeah, Ron Howard is such an interesting star because infamous for Happy Days, infamously in like American Graffiti, and like he was an actor, and then just changes his tone and goes into directing. I've seen a couple I feel like the last big Ron Howard movie was Solo, which he directed 1% of, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a whole thing we don't need to get into, but I feel like Ron Howard as a director is like if you need someone to get it done competently and on time, he will follow script, he'll stay in budget, and he'll make it work. And when it's like there's nothing wrong with the directing in this movie, but there's nothing to me that really stands out from a directing standpoint.
Mm.
Like there's no
Yeah,
like you're dealing with space and there's like he just fades to black a lot. Like why aren't there like great transitions? Like where is this like vision that we can use here, like where we can edit together and like really just make you go, whoa, and like
it was something I have to mention that I was very disappointed in this movie was that I was expecting to be blown away when I saw the credit that Dean Cundey shot this movie. For those of you that don't know, Dean Cundey is one of the best cinematographers of all time. Some of the movies he's shot include Halloween, The Thing, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future 2 and 3, Jurassic Park. So like this guy was just like the A-list like, cinematographer back in the day. And so when I saw he was shooting Apollo 13, I was like, here we go, this is gonna be fantastic. I can't wait to see this. And then the space scenes left a lot to be desired, I felt like.
really, yeah, well, I think a part of that is also the time of when it was made in 1995, where we're 2 years removed from Jurassic Park. The CG just isn't there, but then also like they even reference 2001: A Space Odyssey in this movie when they're
Mhm.
broadcasting back to Earth and the networks won't carry it.
Mhm.
And they play the what's that song? The
Spirit in the Sky.
Spirit in the Sky instead of and he was like, "Oh, that was supposed to be also Spock Zathura from 2001." And I was like, "That's a nice reference." I'm 100% positive that astronauts were watching 2001: A Space Odyssey um, back in 1968.
Yeah.
Uh, but I didn't again, it's a movie where it's like I don't have a problem with how it looks, but I don't
It wasn't bad, but it
but
wasn't like fantastic. I
there's nothing
expected more.
the best shot in the movie is when um Clint Howard sitting at the computer, like doing calculations, and it reflects in his glasses. Like anytime you get a good glasses reflection, I'm all in on that.
Yeah, so this is the thing in the movie where like the control room scenes were shot very dynamically, and I loved how in some scenes it almost felt like it was Ed Harris just like like as a football coach in a way.
Oh
And the way
yeah,
how it was shot with like the chalkboard scenes where it's like we go here, we go here, we go here, and I thought that it was all great there. And like even considering and factoring in the special effects of the time, how like obviously this movie's 30 years old. This is celebrating its 30th anniversary this week, which is why we're covering it. But even considering that. I expected a little bit more, just a little bit more awe or something like that. Because like 2001, for example, I still haven't seen it. We're gonna be covering it
we
eventually when I
we
can
will
find a
cover
screening
it
of it.
when it does a re-release into theaters because I told Tommy he cannot watch that movie without going to see it in a movie theater.
Exactly, and that's a movie that I've heard that thing over and over again. Like you can only see this in theaters. So, but from what I've heard from 2001, the visuals are like breathtaking. Correct me if I'm wrong. So like you would have expected a little bit more given the talent behind the camera.
But it's different. It's different though because they were using models. They were doing, similar to what they did in the original Star Wars. Like that was more on steroids with the moving camera. That was in a stagnant camera with the model moving.
Mhm.
And this is all CG now, the computer stuff. And I just, you have to wonder if it's hard to shoot something that's completely black and white in outer space, like it's hard to light that. It's hard to color that when it's all digital. Like how do you color that? And like what
Mhm.
is Gene's Cundey from a cinematography standpoint? Like what is, as a cinematographer, what is his role in front of a nerd on a computer animating this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like, well, he was the guy that you went to for CG. I mean, like I said, he shot Jurassic Park, he shot Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which definitely implemented like special effects in a great way for both those movies.
Right, but I mean, Who Framed Roger Rabbit was like shot on the frame, and then Jurassic Park was shot by Steven Spielberg, so it's just different
Exactly.
films, they're
What we're
different
getting
vibes.
back to is that Ron Howard is not on the level of like some of these other directors, even though
No,
he's a crowd pleasing guy. I mean, this made me think of
he's total crowd pleaser.
this made me think of a movie that I watched of his recently. This was like 4 years before this, called Backdraft. It was a firefighter movie of Kurt Russell and William Baldwin as the lead, and it's a movie that like it's just
Billy
a junkie
Baldwin.
act. Yeah, Billy Baldwin. It's a junky action movie, but just the fire scenes are all awesome. It's just another like dudes doing dude shit and stuff like that. So it made me think of that. But overall, though, I found this movie charming. I thought it was gripping too. I wish it was cut down a little bit. I felt like this movie for 140 minutes was maybe a little too much. Um,
Really, I didn't find any problem with the pacing. I actually thought the pacing was pretty excellent in this movie because
for the
it
most
does
part, it was, but I feel
it
like a couple of it could have been cut out, like maybe 10
it
minutes, 20.
the only thing I could have thought of them cutting out was like in the third act, like right when they're about to land, we are introduced to Tom Hanks' eldest son who's away at military school, and it just cuts to him watching the landing for dramatic effect. But like everything else, like was charming. Like Ron Howard's mother plays Tom Hanks' mother in this. Very cute
Yeah,
moment when they're like trying to like coax her through her son maybe dying, and they're like, "Oh, these are two men from the program, Neil Armstrong and Buzz. They're gonna watch this with you." And he goes, "Oh, so have you gentlemen been on the moon before?" Like, just like,
yeah, that,
"Oh, she doesn't know who they are." Like, unlike like literally every American at the time, it's the most watched program in the history of time and space. Like, she probably knew who they were, but it's cute. It's a cute little moment. It's a nice little moment.
yeah. There was one thing of like the Ron Howardness of it all. I feel like sometimes Ron Howard can make like very like American movies. I don't mean that in a bad way whatsoever.
Oh
But
no,
like
this is
the fact that this movie opens up with Walter Cronkite of all people, just like giving a narration of like everything and just setting the table. Just what a way to open your movie. It's a voice that I miss hearing, even though like we weren't really alive when he was covering the news, but he was such a
he's such
pop
an
culture
icon. He's
osmosis
such an
figure.
iconic. Everybody knows what his voice sounds like. Like
Exactly.
whether or not you know it, you have heard Walter Cronkite's voice in like a history class before. And he
Mhm.
really was that like defining voice of the news in that very early era of television. Um, and I actually love how this movie opens with the space landing there. Just gives you that like swell of Americana patriotism. I
Mhm.
love how we're introduced to Kevin Bacon's character, where he's flirting with this girl with like a beer bottle and a can, explaining how the lunar rocket ports into the station. Doing some very visible imagery, if you will.
Mhm.
Just young lady, Jack Swigart. We learn he is a bit of a ladies' man, a bit of a Casanova, if you will,
Mhm.
on the force. But it's interesting because this movie like explores a lot of different things like it's the media relation like fascination with NASA before and after the Apollo 11 mission.
I do like how often they have those scenes of like where Tom Hanks, for example, I think he's talking to a congressman during this scene where he's like, "Oh, like what do you think about like why we do this and like why should we do like why should we go back to the moon if we already been there?" And he says that quote about Christopher Columbus. He's like, "Well, if Christopher Columbus never went back to the New World after his first voyage, and we wouldn't be here right now." So they really do add that little thing, and Tom Hanks is just so charming that it works so much throughout
Well,
this movie.
it's a subtext that I hadn't picked up before, but that it's really saying like Like Apollo 11 happened, and then the American fascination with space died in 1969. Like we were not as compelled with it unless there was a disaster looming.
Mm.
Um, and the
Because
Apollo
at this point, when's the last time we've even been to the moon? It's been probably,
1974, I'm pretty sure.
yeah. And when you think of like NASA and like how they try to implement it, just to go on a tangent real quick, because I was thinking about this of the Challenger disaster, of how for a generation like slightly before us and kids like slightly before us, they rolled out the TV for every classroom back in the 80s to have everyone do this like huge Challenger thing. There's a whole media frenzy because some teacher got to be on the ship and how exciting that was. And then they showed the blast off and the ship exploded on blast
Hmm.
off, terrorizing kids. And one thing that I love that they got hearing about is that apparently one of the original ideas was that they're going to have Big Bird and Carol Spinney, the actor who played Big Bird, was going to be on the NASA ship, on the Challenger ship with everyone. And thank God that didn't happen because you imagine how much more traumatizing it would have been. In addition, if Big Bird himself just like died on fucking screen
Burns,
for all
burns.
burst to death. Yeah,
So we just find a charred yellow feather at the scene of the crash.
yeah, exactly. And it's just like, well, I guess Big Bird's dead, kids. Like, we're never gonna mention him again in
Jim,
Sesame
Jim
Street.
Henson on his knees at the crash site with like a burnt yellow feather. Like, damn it! Damn it all! Charlton Heston at the
Ah,
end of
yeah.
A Planet of the Apes. Damn you all to hell! You blew it.
It would have been the most like especially even more traumatizing than it already was for kids. So thank God that didn't happen. But that's like at the last thing I can really think of like NASA. I feel like we don't really hear as much these days. I feel like it's
Well,
definitely been de-emphasized.
it's cut funding. We send a
Yeah.
bunch of different like shuttles with cameras into space. Like we spend probes out there. We're like discovering the different planets, but we're not sending man to the moon because there's nothing on the moon. Like we
Mhm.
went to the moon because it was close. It was something everybody knew. Every human alive knows. It was a race with the Russians, right, for world power, world domination. But
Mhm.
it's just a rock.
Yeah.
There's
Ultimately.
nothing, there's no resources, there's nothing. Believe me, if there was oil on the moon, we would have something going to and the moon. We'd have it developed, okay?
We would be fracking the hell out of that moon.
Oh, that moon would the tides would we'd have ocean activists. It would be a nightmare. But we would
Yeah.
be fracking the hell out of that moon, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Coming and going, up and down. But you also see like the Challenger is a great example of like why aren't we really doing this? It's because it's a giant risk.
Mhm. And even when I was thinking of this movie, like how insane you have to be to like want to be an astronaut. I mean, it's the one thing that like every kid like when they're little is like, I want to be an astronaut when I grow up. But then when you realize like the reality of it, where it's just like that must be one of the most terrifying things. Where it's just like,
Oh,
if this
so
fucks up slightly, I'm done.
did you ever see First Man? It's Damien Chazelle's third film that he released with Ryan
I
with
haven't.
Neil Armstrong. It's okay. Like the drama part in the second act like kind of bogs it down. But that first act, like anytime they go into space, I love it because it does not give you because it's all about the leading up to the Apollo 11 mission and just like the
Mm,
test flights and the tense thing. It does not give you the sense of the wonder of space till the very end, and it's shot so claustrophobic. It's so tight on their faces, and just
mm,
like what this movie doesn't do is like they were in like they kind of reference it being like, oh, there's just a layer of tin blocking us from here. It's like, but they were in like a literal tin can. Like you just see all the like when they're taking off, like all the gears and levers like shaking and rattling. Like you feel it in the theater, that explosion. Like this movie doesn't really do that because it's not what it's like aiming to do, but that movie really does show like, oh, these people are psychopaths who are doing this. Like
mm.
you have to be out of your mind to be an astronaut,
Yeah, exactly.
especially in
And the
that
fact that
time.
and they even touch upon this movie where Jim's wife, Kathleen Quinlan, who's a great 90s actress, how she has mentioned in the beginning of the movie where she's like, I don't need to be there for the launch. I don't think I can put up with another one. I've been there for like, well, it was like three before or something like that. Like, this is enough for me. Like, and because like you imagine, like, because you're thinking in the back of your head, like the challenger's constantly going to happen, like that type of scenario where it's just like, all right, this is it. Like, we're done,
Yeah,
and I'm
because
gonna see my husband die or something.
I don't need to see my husband explode right in front of me.
Yeah.
And we see on her side too, because it's it's a nice change of pace from the because we basically have three sets that were kind of thrown across, right? Like the Apollo 13 ship, or not the
Mm,
ship. That's not the ship, but the Odyssey. We have the control room, and then we have the civilians, right? And
mm,
we're kind of given those three perspectives, and it's kind of tossed around basically using the different news outlets as like buffers as we change from scene to scene um, from there. But it, it's a movie that it doesn't feel like it has like I don't want to say no stakes. It just doesn't have like it has stakes to it, obviously. It just doesn't have there's no character drama in this at all. The only character drama is that Gary Sinise's character, Ken Mattingly, uh, was introduced to somebody with the measles and he was taken off the flight the day beforehand, and Jack Swigert, Kevin Bacon's character, has to go in his place.
mm,
And Ken is very depressed about it until he finds out that the Apollo 13 mission is in major jeopardy and he works around the clock to figure out how to position the engines. One of the things that this film gets a lot of praise for, and something that Ron Howard was vigilant about, was having NASA engineers on hand to make sure that like what they were actually saying in the script was what was actually being said. Like they're using a lot of real terminology here. I like how they do a lot of the breakdowns. Like I love the scene of Tom Hanks and his son, and Kathleen Kinlan is just like listening outside the door right after she has her nightmare of the ship exploding in space.
mm.
Um, have him explaining how everything works in very layman's term at a second grade reading level. So it's like it's a great way of like giving that kind of exposition to the audience in like a very cute like father son heartwarming moment.
Mm.
Um, there, but it uses a lot of the real terminology, and it uses
And even the way they use like the weightlessness in movies, I mean, this has been something that like movies obviously have to do if they're in the space, and especially like if they're not sci-fi type space, to make it realistic. Apparently, Ron Howard at the time like was talking to Steven Spielberg about like how he's like, how am I going to pull this off? And what they did was like they filmed aboard a KC-135 airplane, which basically is flown away to create like about 23 seconds of weightlessness, and this saves so much cost on like special effects and all this stuff. So they did like 3 hours and 54 minutes of filming in this like zero G maneuvers, where basically it's the way they also in NASA train their astronauts for space flight. So they did it over and over and over again to basically like make it. It was like 25-second bursts of weightlessness, so they could get like all the different moments of like Tom Hanks and Bill Paxton and Kevin Bacon in the ship and
flipping
all that
around.
stuff. Yeah, all that stuff looks great. Um, but apparently, like the cast and crew described that as like kind of like a vomit comet and like a roller coaster ride. And thank Bill, all three of the main cast members, Paxton, Hanks, and Bacon, were like very proud they never got sick on the vomit comet. Because you can just imagine just over and over and over again, just getting like flipped over and over. It must be like excruciating to
Yeah,
the
and I
stomach.
mean you have to do training before you even do that
Yeah.
too, to just prepare your body for it.
Yeah, it must be insane. Again, another thing of like why astronauts must be the most insane people ever. So in terms of cast, I love the three main actors. I think they're perfectly cast. Hanks is like the everyman kind of, and like Bill Paxton is just a great character, and Bacon is so fun as just like the hot shot kind of guy. So here's a potential cast that could have happened. So John Travolta, because he has all its interest in aviation, reached out to Ron Howard. Ron Howard's like, no, no, we're good. Then John Cusack was offered the Paxton role. Then he turned it down. And then Brad Pitt was offered the Kevin Bacon role, and he decided to do Seven instead. And I think that it worked out well.
That worked out for both parties perfectly
Yeah,
well. Seven is
exactly. Seven is an all-time classic, and Bacon was just what this movie needed. I feel like if we had like Travolta as the lead, this would have just been a worse movie. I mean, I like Travolta and he can be good, but he doesn't have the same like.
no, and I mean this is Tom Hanks' Apex Mountain.
This is
Philadelphia.
around the same time as like what like Forrest Gump and everything. That's what like year before.
He had just done so he had just won the Oscar for Philadelphia,
Mm,
then the Oscar for Forrest Gump.
Mm,
and then Apollo 13. Like this is him at the height of his power. Like he's still an A-list of A-list movie star, but very this is very much like the height of his power here.
mm.
Um, you
In
know,
terms of performances, there's only two people that got nominated for Oscars. Hanks wasn't one of them. This is most,
because there's fatigue.
yeah,
There's just voting
exactly,
fatigue.
voter fatigue at this point where it's like, do we nominate him a third time? It's just like kind of like how like Nikola Jokic can't get the MVP three times in a row because NBA voters are just all like taken out. Um, but so Ed Harris was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I thought he was great in this movie, and I think that was a well-deserved nomination. And then Quinlan was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and I think that she really adds some flavor. She's the only real person that gets like any character work on space. I mean,
Yeah.
outside of space on the ground. So that's definitely well deserved too. So, I mean, I'm not checking.
I would actually argue that like only Kathleen Kinlan would be deserving of an Oscar here. Like I absolutely loved Ed Harris in this, but like what is he getting an Oscar for? Like genuinely, like he's either just directing people or getting slightly angry.
Well,
Like,
I'm curious what his Oscar clip would be. It'd probably be like the scene where like he's at the chalkboard because
oh yeah,
he lost the Oscar to Spacey in Usual Suspects,
makes
which
in spite of the spaciness of it all,
yeah
that makes
makes
sense.
sense. Yeah, so exactly. And this movie did win Best Film Editing. I think the editing is a
The
strong
editing is
point of
fantastic.
this.
The pacing, like you said, this movie's a little too long. I thought it's perfectly paced.
Mm.
It hit
I
all
just
the steps of the story that you need to. Like you are in space, and then we are at the end of the movie. Tom Hanks gives his little monologue, and we clean our hands of it. We are done.
mm.
Movie,
The other
but
Oscar was Best Sound.
yes, definitely that as well.
Definitely
Like,
well deserved. I think great sound design in this movie. Fantastic. This does remind me when we covered Twister for with another Paxton movie. Where
hmm
like that movie, great special effects in it, character work not there.
not there. I think this is better than Twist.
Well, this is definitely a step up from Twister, but it like reminds me a little bit of that, where like Paxton was definitely the guy to go to if like you're like,
he's
you know,
just
much
so
character.
Paxton is so charming in this, and he really is. He gives like a little bit of just like silly levity to the movie
Mm,
that you kind of need in this like when they're doing the broadcast from space he's the one that's messing around and he's the one pulling pranks and then all of a
mm,
sudden he gets a fever when they have to just be freezing cold in space comes down with a cold or something or pneumonia
mm,
something along those lines and they're you get to see that change there. Like the only real strife between there, because when the accident happened, Kevin Bacon is told to switch the oxygen tanks on the shuttle to like flutter them to just make sure they are still working. There's an electrical fire, something breaks out, and Paxton and Bacon kind of go at it for like a minute, and then Tom Hanks like, whoa, 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 we're not playing
yeah,
sides here. And then
yeah.
that was kind of the end of that strife there.
Mm,
That was it, like no harboring resentments anywhere there towards. Um, I do love the scene though where with the carbon monoxide levels going up and they have to get the different filters to fit with like
mm,
and they come into the room and they're just like, gentlemen, we have to fit this into this and we can only use this and it's just a pile of junk that's available on the spaceship. Like I just
yeah.
love that like little sequence there. It's just
I, again, they had so many great like little like one moment, one line characters practically in this movie in the control room, where like it was just fantastic for that. This movie must have been a dream for a character actor.
oh yeah, and you know, this movie did really, really well at the box office, made $355.2 million on a $52 million budget. Like,
Mm,
yeah, that's gonna play. That's gonna do quite all right there. Hollywood accounting will find a way to still not turn a profit, but
mm,
it did its job. It uh, for this is like to me, this is the kind of movie that we just like we don't get anymore. Just like it's just a crowd pleaser, like in
mm.
all fronts of it. It takes something
Yes.
that you know that happened, dramatizes it, puts A-list actors in there. Like you have Ed Harris in like a very side role here. And then like comparing this to like I just watched Truman Show and like he is the second half of that movie, right? Like he is like we see the complete dichotomy between him and Truman and their
Mhm.
relationship from his perspective, right? Like it's brilliant and he like where does he deserve a supporting actor? I'm like I would say Truman Show over this.
Truman Show definitely had more acting in this, but it made me think too of like what's the last like great space movie we had that not like sci-fi wise, but like strictly like more realistic bet.
Probably
Maybe
First Man.
First Man probably be up there. Martian maybe. You probably make
But
the
that's
argument.
more sci-fi than that's
Yeah,
more that's more sci-fi than realistic.
Gravity I've never seen, but I heard that like that's
Gravity
great
is
too.
Gravity's great for the first like 30 minutes and then it's kind of forgettable.
Mhm. Yeah, so yeah, like you said, like we're definitely missing like stuff like this nowadays, where this isn't a exponentially budgeted movie. This is a like mid-budget movie, and this is what's not really playing as much in theaters these days, unfortunately.
And but this is the kind of thing that would get people out of their seats to go, out of the house to go see it because like space is this great expanse, right? Like it is something that you want to see on a bigger screen. It
Mhm.
is larger than life itself, and it's unfortunate that we don't get these kind of movies anymore.
I think that the tide is slowly starting to change on that, where like we're starting to see more mid-budget movies come out and like get like decent amount of like hits in the box office and stuff like that, where it's slowly turned the tide. I mean, some of the problem is that like these days comedies aren't really in theaters as much
I am
anymore.
very optimistic for the Naked Gun reboot, which is a
Yeah,
sentence I never thought I would have said.
every so one thing with the Naked Gun reboot is that every single time that I've seen that movie in that trailer in theaters, um,
Gets a lot of laughs.
yeah, it gets a ton of laughs. Like people just love that movie and are eating it up. So I think that that could do really well, and I'm
And
curious to see how
it
it's gonna
seems to
go.
be like it seems to be leaning more into like what would make Liam Neeson funny and not try and while doing like gags of the style of Naked Gun, but not trying to make him Leslie Nielsen,
Mhm.
which
Yeah,
is
exactly. And they even touch upon like the whole reboot thing, and the OJ joke is like killer. Every
yeah,
time I've seen that, it
gets a laugh.
kills.
It gets a laugh every time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you know, we might be turning the tide, Tommy. I'm hoping you're right. I am hoping that you are right.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
All right, Tommy, who is the star of the show? Who gave the best performance in your opinion here? Because as we said, we got heavy hitters here.
Mm. There's a lot of heavy hitters in here. I feel like we didn't really touch upon him, but Gary Sinise, I feel like just did some great work right here of just like how much you could feel like the resentment and like hurt and like mixed emotions he has when he sees
Oh,
the Apollo
I love that
13
scene where
launch
they have
off.
to. I love that scene where they have to tell him like, you can't go
Mm.
on because you might get measles up there. And he goes, "Well, we'll go discuss it up at mission control." And Hanks goes, "No, it was my call."
Yeah,
And he just goes, "Oh,
yeah.
I see," and just like walks off. And then we just see him watching the launch from his car at a distance, like looking up at it. And you're just like, you could just tell he's a defeated man there. Yeah,
Mm.
we really didn't touch too much on Sinise, but he's kind of like he kind of just becomes one of the guys in the control room, kind of similar Ed Harris role, right? Like just filling in where he needs to keep the plot moving.
Yeah, towards the end he does kind of, but like I feel like the beginning stretch, he had great stuff, and even just the moments of like character work where like, or the moment where he turns off the TV right before it's about to say the disaster
Yeah.
happens, where he's just
And
like pretty much just like,
hangs up the phone line. He's like, I don't want to be in he's just drinking beers and he's just like, I don't want to be contacted by anybody. I am sad and I am miserable.
yeah. So he was great. Also Kathleen Quinlan, uh, underrated actress. She really gives like a probably the best character work in this. And just like how many times, like the one scene where she's in the shower and she drops her wedding ring
Right
in
before
the
the launch.
down the drain. Just such great acting right there. Was just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, god. Apparently, like the person that she played in real life, like said that, like yeah, like she portrayed what I was going through kind of really well.
Yeah,
So,
and
and you can see it.
they also said about that was that she actually did drop the ring, but they were able to get it out of the drain,
Mhm.
which was not depicted in the movie. But I do like how it's like kind of sprinkled all before, like some just bad, like dropping your wedding ring, like not a good omen. Like
Mm.
just all these like faint little ominous omens like right before the launch, like leading up to it. And then we get
Yeah.
the launch and it's like it goes great and it's going great until it's not.
Yeah. She's an actress I feel like that should have had a bigger career, especially coming off this, where she got a Academy Award nomination. But her follow-ups to this was Breakdown, which is a very fun B movie of Kurt Russell, and Event Horizon, which is a space B movie that has its fans, but it's B movie, like trash
Yeah,
techniques.
again, not gonna it'll find its audience, but it'll never be like a people pleaser quite like this. It
Yeah.
seems like with her, because like she did the Doors before this. The Tribeca, she was on Tribeca for an episode. She did, she did her stuff around, but this is definitely like the peak of her career here. But she's always great when she pops up in movies.
Mm.
But for me, I really love Hanks in this. Like,
Yeah.
it is just that like all Americanness that he just like cultivates in his movies, and then the way he's just able to command, right? Like when it's going down and it hits the fan,
Yeah.
like he is in full control of that situation. We see him be the quarterback. We see him making the decisions and controlling the men, making them go along there. I love the moment where he like where they're doing the buyout, like they have the patches on their chest and they're, reading back like all the health stuff, and he's just like, I am sick and tired of the entire Western world knowing what my pulse is, and just like rips it off and throws it, and they all take it off too because they're just like they're not in a good situation. Like, I don't care what my heart rate is at. I don't care. Like, I don't need the doctor telling me like if I'm going to die, it's not because of that at this point. It's like if I die, it's going to be because of something else.
Mm.
That's much more front of mind, not the doctors being like, yeah, you need to sleep. Yeah, dude, it's 40 degrees in here. I'm not, we're not sleeping. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we're floating. I don't know how to tell you that we're just not going to be able to sleep, but we're not going to be able to sleep.
Yeah.
And then there's
It's
this sequence we didn't touch upon with where they cross the path of the moon. Like,
mhm.
great sequence where they see the landing site of Buzz and Neil, their old neighborhood. They sling around the dark side and they look at it and they go, "This is where we're supposed to land." And and Tom Hanks has that dream sequence with him, which was kind of goofy, honestly, of him like jumping on the moon.
Yeah.
It's definitely like a little bit of a goofy sequence, but him jumping there and like just seeing like, oh, the pain of being like, and him being like, I'd like to get home, gentlemen. What about you? Like that whole part of it of like realizing like his dream, his lifelong passion, like he's not going to be able to accomplish it despite being that close.
It is a little heartbreaking moment where like they see the moon right there and they're like, yeah, we're not gonna be able to be there. Um, also, I want to shout out Ed Harris. I mean, I thought that he was really great in the control room. I mean, again, that football scene is just so dynamic. I was wondering about this earlier when I was watching this movie. So, would you say Ed Harris, the average film goer, would he just be a character actor, be like, oh, it's that guy, or do you think he's a little more?
He's a that guy.
Yeah,
For an average film goer, you've seen him in stuff, you know him from stuff. He's a that guy. If he's not a guy that I think would get everybody like being like, "Oh my God, Ed Harris is here," and they'd be like, "Who?"
yeah,
Versus like, "Oh my God, Tom Hanks is in the lobby." Like everybody's gonna file down and try to see Tom Hanks.
mhm,
Versus like
yeah.
if I hear Ed Harris is in the lobby, I'm like, I'm going down, I'm shaking that man's hand.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like some people would be like, who? Like what movies
I,
have you
I
seen
love
again?
I love his military haircut in this too. It's just like such a high and tight.
It almost like reminded me of like fucking like Guile from Street Fighter almost. No way. The fucking bleach blonde
Yeah, but
too,
his
where
Giles' hair is a lot
Guile's
tougher.
is way longer. It's like a shorter a little bit.
Yeah, this is not exactly Giles, but it's that very 60s military haircut. And it's just I do like that like the set design and like the style, like very very 60s, like really capturing that late 60s essence and like those traditional like conservative styles, and then like with his daughter like trying to dress up as a hippie for Halloween and stuff, like you're seeing the conflicts.
Was it for Halloween or was it that she
That
like
was
was like that's her
that was
rebellion
it was
phase?
for Halloween.
I thought that she was going through rebellion phase where she was listening to Hendrix and all that stuff, and then like the second her dad was like
She
in
was listening to Jefferson Airplane there for a minute too.
Yeah, yeah. But I felt that that's totally her, like going through a counterculture movement where she wanted to
Oh,
wear all this
she
stuff.
was, and it was like, how do we shove the counterculture movement? Because like the Beatles break up, and she's like, I can't go to my dad's broadcast. The Beatles are breaking up. I hate Paul forever. No one can
Yeah,
listen to
yeah.
the records again. It's like, just like just a fun little scene of like what happened at the time, right? Like what was going
Yeah,
on in April 1970. Like the Beatles breaking up, that's pretty big news.
yeah.
It's pretty big
Yeah.
news at the time. But and like the ending too, just the landing sequence of like after all this hell, like there's still so many things that can go wrong, and all they can do is pray. Like literally all they can do. And I love that they cut to like the footage of like people are watching in Times Square, and the Pope led a prayer of 50,000 people, and at the wall in Jerusalem, the Wailing Wall, like people praying, like showing like the amount of support that this mission had on Earth of getting these three men home. Um,
Mm,
it didn't bring me to tears, but it brought me damn close to tears.
mm.
Um, you
And
know,
the
I
ending
think
was just great when they finally land in there and they like, how sunny it looks in comparison. That was really shot well just to contrast like how cold and empty space looks.
yeah, so the actual Jim Lavelle was in this movie at the very end when they're on the Navy ship and Tom Hanks is shaking the captain of the ship's hand. That's Jim Lavelle.
Oh wow.
That's the
What's
real.
crazy is that like given how long ago this was now, like 60 years ago, Jim Lavelle and the character Paxton played are both still alive at this point. So I would expect it to be the movie where like, yeah, this is all these people are dead. But the guy who played Bill Paxton played outlived Bill Paxton, which is insane to think about.
Yeah, Bill Paxton's very sad to think about in hindsight, but
Hmm.
truly a great actor, and this is one of his seminal works. It's a TNT classic. Is this a movie for you that you think you would ever go back to? Like you would
I
watch?
think so. I think so. I mean, I've definitely been in this 90s zone of like watching like 90s thrillers, 90s action movies, 90s dramas. And this really fits that itch of, especially with the character actors in this and just how many great little one scene, two scene guys are in this movie. And just the fact that the trio is Paxton, Bacon, and Hanks. This rocks.
Yeah, and it's also like it's a bit of a shut your brain off movie too, which is nice
Hmm.
sometimes. Like you don't gotta do like the movie's gonna explain everything to you. It's a bit of an amusement park ride, right? Like you get on and you get off and you had a great time.
Well, I wouldn't call it a turn
It's
your
not
brain
it's
off
not in
movie.
it's not in the way Scorsese would say it, but you understand what I mean.
I guess to extent, but like I feel like you do have to concentrate a little bit because like turn your brain off movie to me means like a Steven Seagal action movie or something like
Oh,
that,
okay.
or
I
Jean-Claude
got you.
Van Damme.
I would just say it's a crowd pleasing movie is maybe a better way of putting it. But
Hmm.
I don't know. It's a movie I will always go back till to the day I die. My mom instilled this movie into me and it's nice to go back to that time of like American pride, which can
Yeah,
get tougher by the day.
yeah.
It can get tougher by the day.
Ah, are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Tommy, would Apollo 11 work as a Muppet adaptation?
Well, maybe Apollo 11 would, but
Or
Apollo
Apollo 13?
13, I don't think would. This movie isn't like
It's not
funny
me.
enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not.
It's you definitely could do like a Muppets like space movie. I mean, there was a Muppets in space movie.
Yeah.
So there you go. But overall, I don't really think this would really
The
work for the
the
Muppets.
Muppets and historical like real life historical adaptations are just never going to go hand in hand.
Mm,
They just aren't, and that's
yeah.
okay. But we love our Muppets anyway. Did you see that they just closed the Muppet ride in Disney?
Yeah, yeah.
Louis
I
Disney.
went to that when I was like 3 years old. So,
I
um,
went to it when I last time I went to Disney, and I'll never be able to ride it again because they had to ruin it.
they killed the Muppets and took them out back, shot them. It's tragic.
Well, I think they're actually replacing on Rock and Roller Coaster, they're replacing Aerosmith.
Yes,
If we
we're
really
all
want,
tied it back to Aerosmith back
we're
in the
all
early.
time. It all ties back to Steven Tyler and his terrible, terrible, terrible plastic surgery.
Yeah.
But Tommy, review time. Give me your score to five.
So this is a fun movie. Just all time like 90s character actors in this. It's very entertaining. I wish that it was. in space shot a little bit more dynamically, even given factoring in the time it was given in. And I felt like towards the end I felt the length a little bit. I'm gonna go 4 out of 5 though. Overall, great crowd pleaser. Fun movie.
Yeah, this is a big old 4 out of 5 for me. It's as crowd pleasing as a crowd pleasing movie can get. Terrific performances. Really well. I disagree with you on the length. I think it's like the perfect length of for what this movie needs to be. It's a TNT classic. It's a cable classic. It's a movie that if you turn it on at the right time, you're probably going to stay around for at least a commercial break, right?
Hmm.
And it's a great thriller. It really is. And you know, by the end of this, with minimal character work done for these guys, like you care about them returning to Earth, and you see the pain that it causes the family and the devastation there. So big, big 4 out of 5 for me. Um, I love this movie. I always will love this movie. Thank you, Mom, for showing me this movie. So yeah, another great episode down the hatch. Any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Well, thank you guys so much for following us and listening. You can follow us on social media. That's at CNETPod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're also on Threads. We're on Blue Sky also, podcia.bluesky.social. And leave us a 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Helps us out, helps us grow the show. July, we're coming up with a couple movies. We're probably going to take next week off for 4th of July. And we'll be back with what? Superman? Christopher Reeve?
Superman. Yeah, I think I've seen it, but I don't remember seeing it, so we're counting it.
Yeah, so specifically Superman the was it called Superman the movie?
Yeah, I think so. But
Yeah,
you know it we're not covering
the new one.
The other Superman.
Yeah,
Uh
we're not covering Man of Steel. We're covering Christopher Reeve
what
classic
about
Superman.
what about Superman Returns?
Oh God, I remember I saw it in 6th grade and I was like, this is boring. What?
Yeah, I am excited for the James Gunn one though.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be good.
Mhm.
Um Weird to say I'm excited for a superhero movie, but I feel like Superman's been done dirty for a very long time, and I
Yeah.
think it's time for him to get his comeuppance.
Yeah.
Um,
Take that, Snyder fans.
yes, take that, Snyder fans. I don't understand you as people. Um, but thank you all so much for listening. We will see you next time.